Well, I'm home and I bought a whole mess of fabric while I was away on my trip. And I said I wasn't going to buy much. Yeah, right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, May the 1st, 2023. And this is episode number 312, and I'm back. Walter and I have returned safely back from our vacation out in British Columbia, Vancouver to be specific, and other spots. And we talked all about that yesterday on Stephen on Walter Live. And if you've been keeping up with me, we were posting videos almost on a daily basis while we were out there here on the channel, which have now been put into a complete playlist if you're interested to see all the sites that we saw. And our commentary on each of those as well. So they're in a complete separate playlist on my channel, and there's a link to that playlist in the show notes below. So it's good to be home. It always is. Getting a little antsy. I've been away from my sewing machine. I have lots of projects to work on, and we have to start getting ready for a bunch of events that are coming up this week, but more on that in a second. But first, let's look at my current projects. Well, there haven't been any because I've been away. But just as a reminder to myself more than to you, here's what I have been working on. I want to get this done pretty soon. This is the All Stars blocks for the quilt designed by Stephanie Stitches. I think it's going to be a great quilt when it's done, and I'm getting there. Get myself back into the swing of things, and I should be able to get these blocks done pretty much by the end of the week, I am hoping, and start assembling the quilt top. And another project which you have seen before, but now this is the entire project done. Just before we left, I got it all quilted, as you can see, and bound, and so it's finished. And the binding on this, if I can just get a closer look at this, right here, you can see it's maple leaves and little swirls as well. I thought that was appropriate. I'm very pleased with the way this turned out, and I was so happy that this turned out so well that I sent, just before we left for BC, a copy of this picture to Chelsea Stratton of Quilting Life, because this is her pattern, and I, of course, adapted it for a Canada Day quilt. And apparently, while I was away, and I have looked it up since, I was featured on her show with her mother, Quilting Life. They spoke about this. I guess I was the first one to show them that pattern completed, and they said some very nice things about it. So that made me happy, I guess. Yeah, it did. So that has been what I have been working on. Now, of course, I went to quite a few different fabric shops, and I'm going to give you an overview of what I bought a little later on in the vlog. But I have a lot of new inspiration for new quilts. Yeah, do I need to have more ideas for making quilts? No, I do not, but I have them anyways. So yeah, I wish there were 3 of me to really work on all the projects I want to work on. Okay, let's move on to the YouTube channel of the week. It's really not a channel, it's more of a topic that you can search YouTube on. While we were away, I saw an email, or not an email, but a Facebook entry from someone that I know who claims that they got a piece of paper stuck in their door talking about the 15-minute city concept. And this person that I know was very upset by this, and I did a little research and found what this 15-minute city concept's all about, and I don't think it's anything to be feared. I think there's just a lot of naysayers and conspiracists, say that word fast 5 times, out there. But here's what I'm talking about. This week's YouTube channel is not YouTube, but it's something I discovered or heard about while I was on vacation, something called a 15-minute city. Now, this has a lot of people up in arms because a lot of the conspiracy theories think this idea, if it is implemented, is going to cause restrictions on us. Basically, you won't be able to go anywhere if it's 15 minutes away from where you live. But I think that's a misconception. So if you watch some of these videos, you'll hear the controversy and you'll see what this really means when it comes to planning a new city development. This is not something I think that could be implemented in an existing infrastructure. This would be possibly in the future for a planned community. But if you want to know what this is all about and why there's controversy about this idea, then you can just do a search on YouTube and find all kinds of information about the 15-minute city. So as I said, there isn't really one specific YouTube channel for all the videos about the 15-minute city. Just do a search in YouTube if you're interested, and you'll come up with a bunch of things. And it is an interesting concept for many reasons. Okay, also in the show notes, you will find a link for Stephen and Walter Go West, as I already said, the playlist. There is a link for Stephen and Walter Live, where we talked a lot about our trip yesterday and talked about the quilt stores we visited as well, because we saw some very unique quilt stores. There's also 2 links, Zoom links, for Wednesday events. Now, this Wednesday is a double whammy. Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. There's a Zoom link for that. And in the afternoon, we have our monthly craft and chat, and the Zoom link is there as well, and that starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hope to see many of you, some of you, who's ever interested, on one or both of those events this week. Of course, there's another event coming up later in the week, but we're going to talk about that a little later on as well. So let's take a look at what's happening. Getting a little frog in my throat here. I better have a little coffee before I do this. That was one thing I missed on our trip, our coffee maker. You know how I love that new coffee maker of ours. I missed my daily macchiatos. Probably not good for you, but I want them anyways. So let's take a look out my front window. Now, while we were out west, we had miserable weather. It was cool and it was rainy. And just as we were leaving, the sun came out and the temperature went up. But I heard that out here, you weren't having that great of weather either. And of course, when we did arrive home on Friday, it was the same weather we had just sort of had all the time when we were out west. A bit disappointing, but you can't do anything about the weather. And while we were out west, we didn't let the weather stop us from doing anything. It's not like if I get wet, I melt, although some people might think I do. But here, anyways, today's looking a little bit promising. When I took this picture, it was still a little overcast, but I'm looking out my window as I speak, and it's still a little overcast, but a little brighter. And you can see the trees on our front lawn are starting to leaf out. Now, right now, the current temperature is 6 degrees Celsius, so it's still a little bit cool. So the trees are probably, we don't really want to do this yet. Okay, it's not warm enough. But I think towards the tail end of the week, we're supposed to be going up in temperature. And you can bet 2 days of nice warm weather and those trees are going to pop. Somehow I caught somebody from my Ring camera walking by. Don't know that person. But anyways, so you can see that the grass is green, of course, right now. No snow, which is nice. It is May the 1st. Although it's not uncommon that we will get a snowstorm in the early part of May. I'm hoping not. We're done with it as far as I'm concerned. And I know Walter was talking about getting out there and raking the lawn and things like that. So yeah. And it's still a little early to put in flowers. It's not the 24th of May yet. That's usually the date when people say, okay, it's safe now from frost and that, put in your flowers. So we probably won't get around to that for a little bit of time yet. But it's coming. It is coming. So looking forward to getting some warm weather. Okay, so that takes me to what's pissing me off this week. And I'm not really pissed off. I'm actually very pleased. And I mentioned before we went on the trip, I was dreading the whole airplane event, getting to BC because of, what things have been happening here, at least in my province in Ontario, with Pearson International Airport out of Toronto. It's been a shit show, to just put it quite plainly. So we were trying to get ourselves well prepared for it, doing what we could do in advance. I mean, now you can 24 hours before you take a flight out, at least with Air Canada, you can get your boarding passes and transfer them to your phone. So you have a barcode that they just scan, or you can print them out at home. And then when you do get to the airport, you can use one of the kiosks to, check in your baggage and put your own baggage tag on them and drop them in yourself, which is pretty good. So you can see right there all kinds of things that can go wrong with that. The computer system doesn't respond properly. You can't get your boarding passes. You go to get your luggage tags. It screws up some way, whatever. Just a whole pile of things that do go wrong. And I know from experience, even before the pandemic, that always seemed to be hit and miss. And when you had trouble at the kiosk, there was no one there to help you or anything like that. And then, of course, you have to go security and you're standing in a long line and you don't know because no one tells you, do I have to take off my shoes? Do I have to take off my belt? Do I have to strip naked and walk around the airport? You don't know. So there's so much stress, so much frustration, so much unknown just to get yourself onto an airplane. And then once you're on the airplane, is there someone sitting in your seat? Even though you've already pre-booked your seats, paid the money to do that, in addition to your airfare, and all these people who are trying to get suitcases as carry-ons and the whole bit, it's just a shit show. Wasn't this time? No, I was really pleased. Okay, let's start. Walter got our boarding passes 24 hours before. We had them in hand when we got to the airport. We went to the kiosk to get our luggage tags. That was done within a minute. I couldn't believe it. Went ahead, dropped them on the conveyor belt. At this point, no human contact. And away they went. Well, that was nice. Now, next thing is security. Well, we were there at the airport a good 2.5 hours before our flight went out. However, Walter had found online that you could book a time for going through security. And they gave you about a half-hour window. So he booked it for, I think, on the trip down, or the trip to BC, he booked it at 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, we had plenty of time. So you had a window of between 9 and 9:30, or 9 and 9:15. Maybe it was only 15 minutes, one or the other. Anyway, you had a little window of, when you could show up. But we were early. So we went over to the security line just to see, well, we're here. Can we go through now? And the woman says, sure, no problem. Just go right down there. Okay, we went right down there, and there's this big, huge, burly guy standing there like he must have been 2 stories tall. And I thought, oh, here comes the problem. Nope, that man couldn't have been nicer. Like, they've all taken a class in etiquette or something, because every one of the people that we had to deal with to board on the plane were pleasant, were nice, didn't give you the 3rd degree in the evil eye. Couldn't believe it. And this guy was even joking. Said something about the size of our carry-ons, which we purposely only take a carry-on that we can put under the seat. And I said, oh, those are little. You're not going for long. Ha, 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 ha. And all this kind of stuff. And so he says, yeah, go right through. So he went through. And, okay, here's the part. Do I have to take off my shoes, take off my belt? So the guy there, as we're putting our stuff in the little tray to go through, he says, no, you don't need to worry about that. Maybe because it was a domestic flight. I don't know. But they were all very pleasant. We have iPads. Do we have to take them out and open them? Just throw it all in the basket. Not a problem. And off those went through the gate. I'm going, okay, here's where they're going to do a cavity search. Nope. Went right through. Didn't have to take off my watch, my belt, as I said, nothing. Bingo. In, out, through that security in about a minute. Couldn't believe it. That's how good, how fast it was. And friendly all the way. So off we go to our gate. We checked out where it was, and then we decided to have a little brekkie. and that was all very civilized. Waiting for the plane. Now, wrinkle came up. I knew it was going to happen, right? Apparently, they were overbooked. They were looking for 9 volunteers who would take a later flight. And if you volunteered, they were going to give you a check for $900 or a $1,000 travel voucher. Imagine good, on another flight in the future from Air Canada. Well, we didn't take advantage of that, obviously. Although, like there's no guarantee which flight you're going to get on later. It's not going to be like an hour later. It could be a couple of days later. So, we had things booked and all that. But that was the only wrinkle. And you know how I say people take suitcases on for their carry-ons? You know the type. Something that will hold 2 weeks worth of clothing is not a carry-on, people. And neither are those damn tote bags that are stuffed to the brim that the ladies are wearing and trying to pretend they're a purse. Those are not a purse. They were checking people as we were going through, with our ID and everything. Anybody that had something that was too big, they got it tagged and it got put in the cargo hold. Now, mind you, they did that for nothing. You didn't have to pay for that. But I loved it. I thought, finally, that was one of my pet peeves, that they're never checking it. And they did. So we boarded on the plane, no incidents whatsoever. Person sitting next to me, I thought, well, we both had aisle seats because Walter gets up frequently because he has a little bit of a leg problem, and plus he goes to the bathroom a lot. So that's why he likes to be on an aisle. So we sit on across the aisle from each other, and I had 2 other people sitting next to me, one in the window seat, one in the middle. And I figured, okay, I'm going to be up and down on this flight, because people are going to have to go to the washroom. And no, those people were part of my club, the Camel Club. Like, I never get up. Very seldom do I get up out of my seat to go to the washroom. I can hold it for days. Little side story here. The flight to Australia was in total, going from Toronto to Vancouver when we did that. We didn't go to Australia this time. Don't want to confuse you. So it's a flight from Toronto to Vancouver. Then you switch to go to, wherever you're going in Australia from Vancouver. At least we did. That flight from Vancouver to Australia is about 16 hours or so, or 18 hours. I think I got up to go to the bathroom once. I can hold it. Of course, once you break the seal, then you got a problem. Anyways, these people were part of my tribe. They never got up once. And they were not noisy. There was nobody passing out, going to sleep, and head falling on me or arm over my lap or whatever. So that was very pleasant. And didn't engage me in, mindless conversation. I'll be friendly for a while, but I don't want to talk. I want to watch my movie or read my book. Okay. So yeah, that was very nice. We got to Vancouver on time, and we went I thought, okay, here we go. There's going to be a wrinkle. This has all gone too smoothly. Get down to pick up our bags. Bang, they're there. Wow. We even had air tags on them. See where they were hanging out. And I didn't have to worry. There they were. So I have no complaints about the flight. I don't know if I was just lucky or the airports are finally and the airlines are finally getting their act together. I don't know. Flight home, everything was the same. No wrinkles, no problems, nothing. And everybody was friendly, very friendly. The only little wrinkle we had coming home on the plane was that our entertainment, both Walter's and mine, the little TV screen, didn't work. They tried to fix it, but it didn't work. But, I didn't really care. It does PO me, because that is part of what you're paying for. However, one of the flight attendants came up to us and said, "We're so sorry, we can't get it working. Can we offer you a beverage and a snack?" And you see on these flights that go from, Toronto to Vancouver, Vancouver to Toronto, nothing's free. You have to pay for anything you want to eat or that kind of thing. I mean, it's only a 5 hour flight, kind of thing. On the way home, it's only 4.5 hours. And so I said, sure. She said, would you like wine, beer, whatever? I said, I'll have some wine, please. She said, would you like some cashews? And I said, I'll have cashews, please. So there I had a little snack. And the cashews were jumbo ones, and lots of them, actually. So I was a happy little camper. So all of my apprehension, all of my fear, all of my stress had left me. I didn't have to worry. The flight home was extremely pleasant. The flight there was extremely pleasant. No wrinkles. Everything went like clockwork. In fact, the whole trip was like that. So thank you to the superior being above for everything that was there. So yeah, it was great. So I'm not pissed off this week. Okay, let's move on to new products. Well, I don't have any new products, but I thought I'd give you just a quickie look at my fabric haul that I picked up while I was in BC. And there she be. Now, I'm going to do a little bit more of a breakdown about these on tomorrow's Idiot Quilter episode, so you can actually see what's in all those bundles and things like that. Yeah, I spent a bit. I think I spent probably about $600 on fabric. But as I said earlier, I saw some very unique fabric stores. It was great. And all of that I'm going to talk about in a little bit more detail tomorrow on Idiot Quilter. And on So Chatty this week on Friday, Walter and I are going to do a deep dive analysis of each of these places we visited and show you a little bit of some video clips of what these stores look like and things like that. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, be sure to tune into So Chatty this coming Friday. Okay, what's that take me to? More coffee, first of all. So you might be wondering, what was happening with our grow lights while we were away? Well, while we were away, our niece came over a couple of times and we showed her before we left what to do with the plants. They're actually very low maintenance. There isn't much you have to do because they're kind of self-watering in the way that they're set up. And we had made sure they had plenty of water when we left, and she just checked them out and topped them up. Oh my God, we came home to a jungle. Let me show you. This is grow light number 1. Okay, lettuce and basil coming out of our yin yang right there. But luscious, very luscious. We had some of it last night for dinner, and it was very nice. Grow light number 2. The onions are doing very well. They were part of the experiment. We haven't picked any yet. We'll let them get just a little bit bigger, and then we'll, uproot one and see how things are going. Now, the lettuce in this was getting a little ratty. Walter has since cleaned that all up, and I think he's planting another tray of lettuce to get that going. And then there's the green peppers and the tomatoes. Welcome to our jungle. They did really well, but they're growing to the ceiling. So much for the concept of dwarf tomato plants that I bought on Amazon. As Walter says, those Chinese seeds, you don't know what you're getting. However, we have lots of tomatoes coming on and getting ripe, and our green peppers, and I don't know if I have a picture. Yes, yes, we do have green peppers, and we have quite a few of them. They're not quite big enough yet to pick, but they're coming on nice, and we'll see how those are tasting. But as I said, we do have some tomatoes, and here is our first tomato, right? Tomato. It's one, but we have more of them. And we checked that out. And in fact, this might have been almost getting to the point of being overripe. Have no idea what variety it is, but it was good. And Walter says some of our tomatoes are not really cherry tomatoes. That's a cherry tomato, what I call a cherry tomato, just a small one. But there's some on there that are much bigger. So we'll see what goes on with those. Let me just switch over here. So yeah, our little grow light experiment is doing well. So I think Walter's going to put in some more green peppers, get them started. And when we come back from the East Coast, about the middle of June, they should be ready to transplant out to our deck garden when we get that started. It's still too early. It's still too cold to put anything out on the deck yet. And so, yeah, grow lights are working really well. Okay, so that takes me to 3D corner. What have I been printing? Well, nothing, of course. My printers have had a nice, well-earned rest over the last 2 weeks. And yesterday I got them up and going again. I had to do some parts replacements, just standard maintenance, new nozzles in a couple of them, a new Bowden tube in one of them as well. Get them all up and going. And right now they're merrily in the background, continuing on their quest to print thimble garbage cans. And I just ordered some more filament, the really nice blue-red one that changes color as you, whichever way the light is hitting it. I really like those. So I'm still madly producing these things, gifts for, when we go out east, when we go down to Georgia at Christmas time for the retreat, things like that. So, yep, they're all working and they're working well. And I'm really seriously thinking about replacing on 2 of the printers the hot end with a direct drive extruder. I did that on one of the printers and that has been working like a charm. And I may go ahead and order a couple of more of these and get around to replacing the Bowden tube system with the direct drive ones, because I really like the direct drive. It does a fantastic job. So that's what's going on in the 3D corner. So that takes me to another trip, a blast from the past one. This is our trip in 2016. This was our first trip to New Zealand and Australia, as you know. And here is a continuation of, I call it On the Road to Queenstown. And it's got several different places we stopped in New Zealand on, I think there's a winery in this particular one as well.
To a flat plane, and then through the process of uplift is starting that erosion process again. So it's quite an old landscape. When you get to near Queenstown, you're getting closer to the Southern Alps. The mountains are much younger and much more jagged as a result of that collision of those plate boundaries. Now, Maniatoto, the Plain of Blood, has 2 names, or two stories about why it's called this. One of them is it relates to a number of moa that used to live here that Maori would come up and kill. There were so many here that it's a Plain of Blood because there were so many moa to hunt. The Europeans also talk about the Plains of Blood. So if you look out just to the right of the bus, you might just see some little patches of a red plant just growing just down on the right there at about 1 o'clock. And this is sorrel, and that looks red. It's by the road, just by the side of the road here. So that's why the Europeans called it the Plains.
Okay, this little stone slide. And then you can see Clyde doesn't have a lot going right now. It's very, very tiny. Although I think there's more of a main street up over in that direction. And I think we're going to drive through some more of Clyde.
Clyde Dam. Now I'll tell you more about the dam tomorrow when we make our way back down towards Dunedin. But all you really need to know is that it's a very big dam and we're directly beneath it and it's built on an earthquake fault line. Tomorrow I'll tell you how they deal with the fact it's built on an earthquake fault line. So just as we're leaving it, as long as we don't have an earthquake in the next minute or two, we'll be fine. On the right, Oliver's. I'd store the old Masonic Lodge as well on the right. Some of the old miners, Hartley's Arms Hotel, little pub here, Tinker's Cottage. So this is the old part. This is the end of the rail trail, and again, this place is having a real boom as a result of all those cyclists and stuff starting here. So it's a bit hard to get a sense of scale of this dam as we go by it. It's a hydroelectricity project, so it creates a man-made lake on the other side. And you'll see 4 penstocks, 4 pipes, and those pipes are big enough for this bus to go through. So it is a pretty big big pipes. So there's four generators down there. Originally there were going to be 6, but they had to re-engineer it because of the earthquake risk too. So it's only 4 there now.
Titles on the land that he purchased, on these 2 ones you can see here, and just experimenting on his hobby block. He didn't have anything to go off, he was really just seeing his gut intention of what he thought would grow here. So he was planting things like Shiraz and Cabernet and Merlot, quite thick-skinned, heavy Australian varietals, but none of which are suited to the climate and the kind of conditions that we have here. So we have a big mountainous rocky terrain. It's very cold, we're very far south, and we're quite high in altitude as well, so it takes very particular types of grapes that you can grow here. Alan Brady pulled those vines out after he figured they weren't going to fly too well, made a trip over to Burgundy in France, where we made the connection between a very similar longitude and latitude to what we have here in Central Otago. So the grape varietals that can grow there reflect fairly well here, so he returned a bit more know-how, bit of enthusiasm, planted some Pinot Gris and some Riesling, 2 cool climate white grape varietals, work really well in this area of the world and up the coast of the islands too. But most importantly, planted some Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is a very tricky grape to grow. It's quite fickle, it's pretty non-forgiving, it's quite a Goldilocks style of grape to be able to grow. So you need perfect conditions to be able to grow it. We have, in the summer here, a big hot summer day with 35, 38 degrees Celsius, really hot and really dry. And then in the evening of that summer day, it drops in temperature a lot. So there's no kind of humidity in the air to retain that heat. As soon as the sun's gone or behind the clouds, it drops in temperature a lot. Comes back down from a 30 odd degree day down to 10 degrees overnight, and that produces a burst of citrus and acidity in the grapes. So Pinot Noir, having a thinner skin doesn't need a big hot night to ripen. It just needs needs the days to be big and hot, and then a balance of acidity coming from the evening to lock in that flavour.
This is Queenstown in the morning of December the 16th, and these are the mountains. You can see some snow on the top of them. It's kind of brisk out here this morning, but we just checked the weather at home and it's minus 15 and lots of snow. So in comparison, this is kind of balmy weather. So this is Arrowtown, which is an old mining town. New Zealand is famous for its gold mines back in the 1800s, and this whole town was that kind of place then. Very quaint. So these are some of the storefronts in Arrowtown. It's got a Old West feel to it, I guess. I guess it's supposed to, since it's supposed to be a gold mining town.
So this is the Remarkable Sweet Shop, where you're supposed to get all the candy you had as a kid, except at adult prices. So we had a second breakfast, as they call it, or lunch here on the road going back to the ship. And it's a recreation of a gold mining facility with panning and a sluice and all that kind of thing. And they've got some little shacks here showing you what it might have been like at the time period. Looks like you can actually, probably for a fee, do a little panning for gold yourself. But up here, I'll show you where we had our lunch today. It was very nice. It was all barbecued. It was in this long, what they call a stable. And it was open air. And it's cooler this morning, but it's quite nice now. And of course, they have the obligatory gift shop inside, and you can get tickets to do different things out here. Kind of thing. Very, very pleasant. And so this is what this place that I just showed you looks like from the outside. You have to cross over this bridge to get to it. And it's called Wild Earth. And it was very interesting.
So, events in the past week. Well, I've already talked about the trip. It was a great trip. We had a great time in spite of the weather. Saw a lot of things, did a lot of things, did a lot of eating. Yeah. And then I figured out the damage financially, and it was not a cheap little trip. It cost us about $7,500 in around there. That didn't include the flight, because actually the flight was free. We had points for the flight. So yeah. Now, we stayed in some very nice places. Price-wise, middle of the road, I suppose, in price, but Walter's an excellent travel agent. And he finds us the best hotels to stay in for, a good price, and always centrally located in whatever city we're staying in, and close to lots of amenities and things like that. So that was great. We did talk about some of those hotels in more detail on Stephen and Walter Live yesterday, so if you're interested, tune into that. Yeah, overall it was a great trip. As I said, no wrinkles in it. Everything worked out fine. Yeah, no complaints here. But by the end of it, we both wanted to come home. As I said, I was going through sewing withdrawal because I saw so much inspiration. I wanted to get on with that. But it was a great trip. So now Walter's already got it planned out. Our next trip is in June, because we're going to the Canadian National Quilt Show in Halifax, and we're going to be driving around the East Coast, seeing some people, seeing the East Coast. We haven't been down there in many, 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 many years, probably 30. So here it's still there. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to this a little bit more because we won't have the hassle of the airport, even though after what I just said, everything went fine. It's still, although it's a lot of driving, and I don't do the driving. Walter does the driving. He likes to drive. He doesn't trust me to drive. It's okay. Driving Miss Daisy works for me. Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. So that's in a month's time. So, 4 weeks basically, and we're off on another trip, another adventure. And we'll be taking you along with us as we did with the BC trip via the channel. So, okay, what else? Past week? Well, nothing. We got home, we got our laundry done, we got our things back in. I'm getting back into the feel of things again. So, that's great. The air conditioning guy comes today to clean up our system, our seasonal maintenance and that kind of thing later today. So we'll get that all up and ready. We don't need it right now, but we are probably going to need it. later on, you know, in July or something like that. So what's coming up? Well, I've already mentioned on Wednesday, so with Stephanie and Stephen, 9 a.m. Wednesday morning, Craft and Chat, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday afternoon. Okay, but let's talk about the spring retreat because that's the biggie. So the Idiot Quilter Spring Retreat for 2023 is happening this coming Saturday, May the 6th. Now, I have everybody registered that are going, and I've sent out the agenda for the day and everything like that. I'm working on the show and share slideshow. I'm working on the prizes. I've got the presenters all lined up. Everything is pretty much ready as to go. Now, having said that, I've had a few cancellations. I have, I think, 5 spots available. So if you were hesitating or your life circumstances changed and you're now free that day and you want to come, send me an email immediately and I will put you on the list and send you everything you need to know for the day. Okay, 5 spots left. I want to thank those people who unfortunately something else happened in their life and they cannot make the retreat, and they'd already registered for it, but you let me know that, and I thank you for that, because that opened up some spots. Just as I said this on Stephen and Walter Live yesterday, and at the risk of being a broken record, I do want to tell you one thing, and it sounds horrible. I have people registered. If I do not hear from you and you don't show up on the day of, and if I do not hear immediately after the day of why you didn't show up, yes, I want you to explain yourself. I put a little mark next to your name on my registration list, and guess what? Come the next retreat, which will be in the early fall, you will not get an invite. You will not be able to register for the fall retreat unless I have spots available after I open it up to everybody. First of all, I'm going to open it up to everybody who showed up to this retreat. They're going to get first dibs at it. Then I'll open it up to the general public. At that point, you may register for it. Maybe. It depends on how many people, how many spots I have available then. I know that sounds cruel. And some of you are going to say, well, that's just nasty. You know, things happen. People can't make it. I get that. I get that. I have said life happens, and it does. But it's common courtesy, whatever happened to you, that you let me know in a timely fashion. That's why you couldn't show up, because basically you took a spot. It was reserved for you. You didn't show up. That was a spot for somebody else might have been able to take. Okay, I hope I make that understandable. I hope it's clear. I hope you don't think I'm being cruel, but you know, I'm making people accountable, I guess, for that. I put a lot of effort into this. It is a free event. I mean, I dare say if I was charging a non-refundable deposit or fee for this, and so if you canceled out, you don't get your money back, those people who are the ones who, well, I'll register, but you know, if something better happens or whatever, I just don't feel like it on the day of, I just won't show up. I think they'd think twice because they would be losing money. But I don't want to do that. Okay? Logistics of doing that make things a little bit more complicated. And I'm all about keeping things simple. So I have said that. Now you know. But right now, 5 places available. If you want to come, write me an email immediately. Now, this coming Friday night, we are having our icebreaker cocktail party, sort of the kickoff to the main event the next day. All registered people are welcome to attend that. I've already sent out information about that and the Zoom link for it. Bring your favorite bevy, bring your favorite snack, bring something, if you wish, that you would like to show off during it, and we're going to have a good time. Walter and I will be enjoying a charcuterie and beer and wine. And yeah, we'll be able to play some games and things like that. And we're just going to have a good time. I find that the icebreaker cocktail party is a great way to warm people up for the retreat the next day. and that's why we do it. And that, of course, is totally free as well. But that's only open to people who have registered. You have the link. I sent it out to you. Also, just a reminder to those of you that I sent that information out. I sent it out on Saturday. If you did not get an email, check your email. Make sure it didn't go into your spam. That has all the information for the cocktail party and for the retreat there with the links. If you did not get that for some reason, send me an email quickly and I will send it to you again. Oh, and by the way, I did have the question asked, are spouses invited to the cocktail party? Yeah, of course. Yeah, they can come. That's no big deal. For that matter, anyone in your household can be part of the retreat as well. It's just that they'll have to share your computer with it too. But that's perfectly all right. Okay, they will not qualify for a prize at the retreat. But they can still, like, you know, if by chance your spouse wants to sew along with us on one computer, yeah, not a problem. Okay. I think that's it. Anything else I want to talk to people about? And I hear my clock going off in the background. So I guess that's a sign that I should wrap this up. Walter and I missed you all. I mean, even though we can't physically see you when we do this, I do appreciate your support. And just one thing about the support, please. If you're somebody that comes on here on a regular basis, but you've never gotten around to subscribing, please do. Please do. You might as well. It costs you nothing. Okay? It helps this channel get out there a little bit further. And so, yeah, subscribe. Why not? I'm worth it. Even if I do say so myself. And I do. Okay, now I'm rambling. Time to go. Hope you have a great week. Check out the Idiot Quilter episode tomorrow and So Chatty on Friday. And then, of course, Stephen and Walter live on Sunday. I guess we'll be doing a rehash on Sunday of the retreat on Saturday. Busy, busy week for me. Hope you have a good one. Bye for now.